Meditation is the food for soul. If we don't meditate, we'll be starving our spirit, our soul. Meditation brings that inner wealth, our inner qualities, beauty, enthusiasm.
What about people, Guruji, who believe in prayer and not in meditation?
Prayer is the beginning for meditation. And when prayer becomes really deep and authentic, it turns to be a meditation.
And one step back, Guruji, what about people who believe that it's just important to be a good human being and you don't need to, after that, pray or meditate, just being nice, compassionate, help people, and that's enough in life?
It doesn't happen, because the virtues are in the center of our existence, our being. So when you are just in activity, you get so tired, worn out, stressed out. When you are stressed, you can't be compassionate, and you need tools to get rid of these stresses, tension, impressions in the mind. And that's what meditation does. It removes the impressions in the mind. It makes you fresh and taza. Many people don't understand meditation. They think it's concentration, you have to focus your mind, and it's another ritual, it's so difficult. These sort of galat fehmi, the wrong ideas about meditation has come up.
So, Guruji, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan has said that you can choose either of these paths in your day-to-day life: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Meditation, I guess, is a part of Swadhyaya, of some portion
Dhyana
of
Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga. Some also people like us who are working, some people interact with you and say, okay, it's just necessary to be fully dedicated to your work, which I completely believe in. But with that also, do you feel meditation is really required? How does it improvise what you are doing in your day-to-day activities, whether you're a businessman, whether you're an actor, whether you are a trader, whether you are whatever? How does meditation help you in your day-to-day activities?
As I said, how does sleep help you?
Rejuvenates.
Rejuvenates you. It makes you fresh and more alive. Meditation does it 100 times more. What sleep does to you every day, meditation does it even much more, because it cleanses the mind of the impressions. It makes you live in the present moment. It makes you free from anger and past
Right.
hang-ups, and also a certain energy that comes to you from meditation. You can't get by just sleep or any other means.
Guruji, in our day-to-day life, suppose we everybody has to take decisions sometimes. Like, let's say as a businessman, sometimes I may have to take a decision. I'm at crossroads, whether I want to expand a business, or I want to sell a business, I want to get into a particular business or not get into it. And a lot of times in your day-to-day activities, you feel totally confused. And you can do all your research, you can be practical, you can involve consultants, but at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. When the time comes to make a decision, how do you take out that last bit of confusion, whether I go this way or that way? I'll just preempt what I have understood till now, is that there is a certain stage where you come to the stage of surrender. How do you realize what's the differentiation between surrender and action, and what's the time when you come to that state of surrender?
Surrender brings confidence. You surrender to God when there is a problem. It brings you confidence that, Divine is going to take care of it. Confidence builds intuition.
Okay.
And intuition means the right way. Otherwise you don't call it intuition.
That's wonderful. But would you have faith? Suppose you get a feeling that this is the right way to do. Would you call it intuition? Or some people may say it's imagination.
No, that's a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling.
There is no way to know it before things happen. Your intuition is correct or not, only the time will tell you.
How would you make yourself more
Aware of the
perceptive of the intuition? Suppose I'm leading a normal life. I am whatever, not any individual who's leading a normal life, and they come to crossroads in their life. If they are new to teachings, to spirituality, what would you tell them? How would you take a decision?
The question of taking a decision comes when there is a confusion,
Right,
and the confusion is because there is a choice,
right,
and the choice is always between bad and worse, or good and better.
right,
Correct? There is never a choice between good and bad.
correct,
I would say you have to see what gives you long term betterment. So, even for the short term loss, if you can get a long term gain, that clarity, if this is the criteria, doing something, if, will it give me a long term benefit? This could be one of the main criteria to decide at that moment. That clarity in the crossroads, to get the clarity, only intuition is most essential. Others moments relax and have faith, the best will happen to you, and then pick up and keep moving. Otherwise, when we sit and analyze the past, you always see, oh, you could have done better. If someone is a doctor, you would have thought, oh, what doctor, I could have become an engineer. Or if he's an engineer, he said, oh, I should have chosen to be in the business. So in the business, someone thinks, oh, I should have chosen politics. People in politics all the time regret, why am I in
why am I into this? So you would say not to really regret, because you've chosen it with your full conviction at that stage, and you've surrendered
we simply have to keep moving ahead.
Okay.
Moving ahead. No point in sitting and brooding over, or regretting what has already happened. For the future, have some vision. Everyone needs to dream.
Yeah.
Even professional has to have a dream, a goal, and then work towards it with confidence.
Somebody has a noble dream, a realistic, let's say a dream which has got good intentions, not only for yourself but for a community or whatever, that you're doing something good. Suppose a dream is very unrealistic. How, with faith or dedication, can you have conviction that a dream may become a reality? Let's say I have a business, a dream, but it's totally abstract. I haven't even taken one step towards it today. But and maybe things are not practical at this point to really achieve it. How would you say would I work towards achievement of that dream?
No, you first have to think about something impossible.
Yeah.
That is only dream.
Exactly, that's the dream. You're right.
Well, something you think is possible, there is no need to dream about it.
Right. So how do I achieve that impossible? How do I work towards achieving that impossible?
You have to work out the steps, how you want to achieve, step by step towards that. First you need to have a dream, and then move in that direction with confidence. And being prepared for failures, certain failures may come, obstacles may come on path. But see, that you want to realize that how much it means to you to go towards a goal, towards a dream, that nobody else can tell us. We only have to say.
What, Guruji, would you say is the importance of some habits which I really believe in, but lot of people don't agree, is being vegetarian and not drinking any and consuming any intoxicants, or not smoking. What would you say is the importance of this in your day-to-day life? Why would you either agree with me or?
Absolutely, absolutely. Vegetarianism is being popular, becoming more and more popular today around the globe, And our country has been pioneering vegetarianism. No other country on this planet has been so much into vegetarianism in the world, and the world is only coming now toward close to what we have been saying from ages. Vegetarianism is more suitable to our system, our human evolution, and I strongly advocate vegetarianism. See, in the 60s or 50s even or 70s, smoking was a fashion. When we were all in schools and colleges, it's something it must, you know. Naturally, when we would never even touch cigarette, never even smoke in once. So we were sort of outcast. Every plain seat had an ashtray, if you remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even till late 80s, as though it was such an important part of one's life. But today, the planes are banned. I don't think there is any plane, airline today which allows smoking. So, any of these habits which are injurious to one's evolution, one's growth, sooner or later people will realize and see it's a mistake. Why to give a habit in the first place to our kids and then try to take it away from them? Our whole life is spent in struggling to get out of alcoholism and get out of smoking. In the first place, it has been inducted or induced just out of fancy. I think you are also lucky because you had that value system from the beginning.
We've never, I mean, in this house we've never allowed non-veg to ever come in even the periphery. Forget us eating it ever. I don't even serve it to anybody outside because I feel the home is like a temple, and since the home is like a temple, I would never allow something which I find impure to come inside the temple. So I just say no.
I think that the atmosphere in which we all grow up makes a difference. Makes when the parents smoke. Yesterday a small boy about 8-year-old, he sends me a slip. Say, Guruji, my father drinks too much. He is in alcoholism. Please, can you help? He's very abusive. What can we do to get him out of it? An 8-year-old boy had tears in his eyes and asking me with a slip in his hand.
Very unfortunate.
Showing the picture, little tiny picture of his father. I mean, it touched my heart so much, said how we can help this boy, see. I think we need to bring back spirituality in our society.
And in the youth, Guruji, because I think the youth are the people who are the future, the tomorrow, and they are deviating to the Western culture. They are forgetting our value systems, they are forgetting our habits, Indian habits. If today you go to the school, you ask a lot of them about the Bhagavad Gita, what did Lord Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, they'll say we don't know. They talk about the Ramayana, they don't know half the characters. How do we get this, the culture, the faith in our mythology, in our spirituality, which is not just a story, because this is fact. How do we get the youth to believe that this is a fact?
Many young businessmen like you should start thinking in this direction.
I need your blessings. I really would love to do something for the future, for tomorrow, for the children of tomorrow. But we need the blessings of great people like you, because it's, as we talked last time about a dream. Today it seems like a dream. It's a Herculean task. Even my children, I try to bring them up to the best of my abilities. Instead of only taking them abroad, I try to take them to places like Rishikesh, Vrindavan, Himalayas. I try to make them take blessings like great people like you and other revered saints we have in our country. I make them attend my Bhagavad Gita classes, which I have every week. I take them to the temple. I make them do pranayam and jap every evening. But I have been trying to explain them from the time they were as young as 5, my daughter is 6. What is the meaning of this? And I think kind of they do absorb it and they do follow it, but they see the environment around them, their friends and school, and they don't know anything about this. Sometimes they feel, oh, are we outcasts? Are we being told to do something which is not normal? So I always find that how do you convince the youth that this is not abnormal? The life they are leading today and finding that is a good life is what is abnormal. Aping the so-called no belief system, that's abnormal.
You know, I heard recently that about 80% of Indian youths are more happier.
Because they are religious and
They are
spiritual.
religious and spiritual.
Yeah.
Today I find that very much so. You know, when people have more religiosity, more spiritual wave is coming. And we have to keep doing this work. We have to keep, I mean, when they see the young models in this country, whether in the business or in film industries, and
Yeah.
they have certain value system, they promote human values, spiritual values, and they live the values, then they will take to it. Teaching our children Sanskrit is something we need to do in this
My
country.
son is learning Sanskrit. I have weekly tuitions for him of Sanskrit
Yeah.
also.
Just a little bit of Sanskrit, you know, because all the Indian languages have their roots in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
You know, 80% of Malayalam is Sanskrit. About the same amount, 65 to 70% of Kannada is Sanskrit. Telugu, there is Sanskrit. Marathi, of course, and Hindi is 85-90% Sanskrit. So if a child learns Sanskrit, his tongue rolls very well, and he can learn any other language much easier.
Right.
You know, Russian has lot of Sanskrit, German has lot of Sanskrit. So in German language is very easy to learn if you know a Sanskrit background. So Japanese and Chinese also.
Have Sanskrit.
Yeah, you know, you can.
The dialect is
The
similar.
dialects is, you can speak them better because you can pinpoint all the syllables there. But unfortunately, our country, we are not promoting Sanskrit at all.
Guruji, we are not even promoting Hindi. Hindi also, the children today, everyone talks to everybody in English. So I try and encourage my children at home. I talk to them in Hindi, and when they go towards English, I try and keep telling them Hindi mein baat karo. Because in school you're talking English, outside you're talking English. At least in your home you must maintain your culture and talk in Hindi.
घर में तो बोलना ही पड़े. और इस संस्कृत का जो रूट रहे ना थोड़ा बहुत, not that they all have to become pandits.
Yeah.
पंडित बनने की ज़रूरत नहीं, मगर विद्वान बनने की ज़रूरत नहीं, मगर some basic knowledge that is essential. Similarly, some yoga would be very good for our youngsters, youths. Meditation has become a fashion even. At least even in that sense, people are taking to doing something healthy. But it will be more inspiration for when more young businessmen like you all, when you all take up, you know, you can really send a message to a particular section of society which would, you know, take it up, so that they think, oh, it is not just for swamis or people who are
It's for the
religious
youth
or
also.
spiritual, but it is for every single human being.
I believe in that. I completely keep talking about it, and people say that I talk too much on these opinionated kind of topics like religion and spirituality and meditation and vegetarianism and non-drinking and non-smoking. But I'm proud to stand apart if I am called that way, because I really believe in these values, and I think it gives you this inner satisfaction to be away from what people may find is normal today and trendy and in with the times, to have conviction in your faith and beliefs. So I can tell you with pride that I have till date never even touched a sip of alcohol. In school, like everyone had a birthday party, they used to say, why don't you have a sip at least to celebrate our birthday? And they used to try and force, but I used to say no with pride. And today the same people say we respect you for that. And in fact, when I am with them, they feel a little intimidated to, you know, have these habits and keep drinking and things like that in front of me, because they know that I have got very strong opinions. And I believe in my strong opinion. Some people say it's bad to have strong opinion, you should accept it, there's nothing right and nothing wrong. I do accept that. After a certain level there is nothing right and nothing wrong. But at our level where we're living a day-to-day life, we have to have do's and don'ts. And I do believe whatever your convictions are, you must follow them. You don't have to feel somebody's bad who's doing it. Everybody is a beautiful human being, but at least you must communicate your beliefs and have them for yourself.
You have to stand on firm on your ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Guruji, of course, I'm speaking to you in front of the camera, but I feel that I've spoken to you already so many times in person. You've been so kind and gracious to come to my house today, which I'm really appreciating. And one can really feel the essence of spirituality which you so much talk about, and you're doing so much to spread in this world. And I just feel very grateful that I've had the opportunity to sit across and talk to you. Thank you.
Wonderful.